Okay, go live. You are live. Let's go. There's a lot of prep work into going live. You think it's just clicking the button. It's really not that. In order to have a show, you have to prepare for it. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody really cares. Of course, nobody cares. Nobody's going through what you go through. But then you complicate the matter. You start saying things like, oh, my friends don't care about me, or my friends don't understand what I'm talking about or how I'm perceiving things. And it's that type of mindset that specifically I'm trying to avoid because it's not worth it. In a life such as this, I know that sounds cliche. I'm not being cliche. For those of you that know me, know the content, I try to avoid that at all costs. But I'm also going to call it like it is. You could write a book on it. Becoming a cynic. It's this whole idea. The way you challenge things foundationally, fundamentally in life can lead you straight into the abyss, straight into depression. Even if you let those depressive thoughts creep in, that's simply a byproduct of the matter. How do you get there? How do you get to a deep psychosis almost? How do you get to a place where you are suicidal, you are hateful, you are regretful, you are sad, there is melancholy? How do you get to that place? You can get to that place in a multitude of ways. It's as possible and apparent as just the insane amount of permutations that can take you there. They all exist, whatever you can conjure up in your brain. Why am I depressed? Why am I sad? Why do I feel this way? You can flip a coin or whatever. You can easily come up with a response as to why you feel sad or why you feel the melancholy. I'll get something up on screen. Not that it's important, but like I'm just putting up like literally a picture up on screen. But again, why do you feel melancholy? And do you think it's okay to feel sad? It's not okay. It's okay, but it's really not okay. You should be fighting that. You should be trying to be happy. If you want to be happy, you have to try to be happy. If you want anything in this life, you have to go after it. But I'm talking about something totally different here. And again, I'm going to throw the premise back out at you so you keep it top of mind. Becoming a cynic. That's the idea that we're attacking here. Becoming a cynic. Cynicism will drive you to jadedness. Cynicism will drive you to the brink. Seriously, think about it for a second. And I know I'm speaking fast here, and I want you to try to digest this, maybe after the show. But if you think about how you process thoughts, not the thoughts themselves, I'm not saying that's not important. The thoughts that you have are important. But the way in which you get there is what we're discussing here. The way I look at it, cynicism, skepticism, it has a place in society. It has a place on this earth. I have to be a little skeptical of things. Somebody comes running up to you and says, "Hey, here's a free $50 bill." You're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. What's in it? Hey, here's a free cell phone. There's a catch." You have to be a bit cynical, a bit. I'm talking about when it becomes forbearing. I'm talking about when it becomes a hindrance. But more than that, we need a better word. We need better words for it. I'm talking about when it begins to obstruct and hamper your life. And I've been there. We've all been there. Listen, I'm 36 years old. However old you are, I don't care if you're 20 years old. You've had a dose of this in your life, which I always had a problem internalizing and trying to understand through the lens of adults when I was in my youth. But now, behold, this idea that cynicism is killing us. Cynicism is robbing and raping us of our lives. Think about it for a second. I'm going to have you run the experiment and observe yourselves. You are going about living your life. You can make the argument that as you watch sporting events, you can certainly make the argument that there's a bunch of collusion, there's a bunch of people that have their hidden and best interests in mind, and they are essentially manipulating the people, selling us something at insanely grotesque profit and hurting us because they're making us watch TV. They're making us stay stuck to something that is essentially almost irrelevant, sporting events. But they suck us in, they suck us dry of our money, they take away our most important resource, our time. Oh, we can get real deep here, and we will. So I might look at these institutions like CBS, Fox News, anybody, right? And say, you know what? These media channels are all in it for themselves. This is capitalism at its best. They don't care about me. I don't care about them. Screw them. I'm going to stop watching sports. It's all rigged anyway. Yeah? Or I could say something to the effect of, hey, sports are actually honest. They try to be fair with their competition. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of corruption, some people trying to stick their hand in the honeypot. But for the most part, it's fair. Which of the two do you think I could live a better life understanding? Maybe it wasn't the strongest example for you. Let's talk about the Trump administration. I could believe that my US government, I could believe that they are corrupt and all out to get us. And I could be worried and apprehensive about the government for the rest of my life and just say, hey, it's not even that it's a crapshoot, the elections. It's all bullshit anyway. These people are going to get in power. They're going to take the money. They're going to rob us, and they're just going to infiltrate and wield their power as they wish. I can believe that. And by the way, if I had to put my money as to what I actually believed, yeah, I do believe that there are these syndicates up there, not some crazy matrix thing. I mean, that's possible too, but I do believe that these governments are all out to get us and profiteer from us. I believe that there's an ounce of that there. And it's a bit worrisome because then how can I trust my government? That sucks. It's scary. You want stabilization. You want to understand with a bit of accuracy that your prediction into the future has some merit, some rationale. It makes sense. that you believe that you can get up and go to work every day. We want good, solid institutions. And I believe that we have them. Now, I could believe that my government is corrupt and out to get me, or I could believe that, you know what, these governments, they slip, they slide, they do well sometimes, they don't sometimes. And for the most part, people are altruistic or try to do well, but sometimes we have some shitty politicians. I could go this way, or I could say, this whole system is corrupt. They're out to get us. I don't even know if I could live in the United States anymore. Which do you think I'm better off living with? I'll give you another example. The third and final observation. I might tell you, hey, why don't you go hang out with your friends? You know, hey, have you been getting out much? Have you been seeing your friends lately? And you might say, no, I've been really enjoying my solitude and I like being alone. I like hanging out and I don't necessarily want to, you know, get bogged down by hanging out with everyone. Seriously, some people feel that way. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. Totally legitimate. Your prerogative. Now, when you think about the reason why you've kind of the cessation occurred as far as you not hanging out with people and you living a little bit more of a individualistic life, if you will. When you think about that, I ask you, by the way, just so you see what we got going on here, showing you the mic and stuff. You could rationalize it in one of two different ways. You could say something to the effect of, you know what? I don't hang out with my friends and I don't hang out with people anymore because I don't trust people. You could easily say that. And guess what? Most people, not that this is extremely important, but most people would agree with you because most people don't like to call themselves gullible. And they would rather not hang out with people, not trust people, not be with people in order to protect themselves from the 0.0001%, in my opinion, which is what? I protect myself from that aberration, that one chance encounter that somebody does something bad to me. Now, listen, we're all old enough. A lot of people do a lot of stupid shit. I've had many people steal from me, literally, like physically steal from me. I've had people walk away from me in like business dealings that have been just terrible, terrible business partners. And you know what? I don't even mean to get worked up about it, but I'm trying to be emphatic here just so you understand. I have worked with people that have literally taken like $10,000 away from me and walked out the door, and that's it. And at the time, can you imagine somebody taking your money like that? Just imagine it for a second. You can't possibly feel what I did. But if you do feel, from like your perspective, somebody walking away with any amount of your money, you'd be so I mean, I'm not going to tell you how you'd feel, but you'd probably say something to the effect of, "Wow, like how could this person do such a thing?" I was out with my friend the other day. I'm in New York City, and uh, out here in Queens, we thought one of my friends had his dog over, and we're hanging out on the porch, and we thought his dog had run off. And his dog has a collar and has a number on it, and we just thought someone stole his dog. And I was like, "Get out of here! This is our neighborhood." I was like, "Get out of here! There's no way someone stole his dog. Like no one would steal a dog like that in New York." But it is New York. Anybody could do it. I've actually had my dog stolen. It could definitely happen. So anyway, so I could go back. Let's go back to this example. I could say something to the effect of, "I don't hang out with people because I don't trust people." Or I could say something to the effect of, "You know what? Most people are good because they are. Most people are good natured. Most people have good hearts. You know that. I'm not saying anything crazy here. And I think most of us would agree that most people deserve to be trusted up front. That doesn't make you gullible. On the contrary, it makes you live a better life. Seriously. I'm not giving advice here. That's not what I do with the show. That's not what I do in my life. But that's just not a good way to live. If my first instinct is to walk outside of my house every day and say I don't trust people, or if what I'm going to accept in my life is, hey, I'm just worried, too worried about people. I don't think they have my best interest in mind, and I'm just better off doing everything by my lonesome. I think you would live a much less enriching life. And for what? Because the implications are not that clear, and I want to point them out. You being a cynic, you not trusting people, you not trusting your government, these ideas, you might think they're rather innocuous. Even you not trusting sports, our first example, you might think, it's not that big of a deal. It's fine. I'm living. I'm fine. Yeah, you are. You're fine. I'm fine too. But it's those types of isotopes, if you will, that trace back into how you think and rationalize things. If you're always saying you don't trust people, you don't trust the government, you don't trust anything, what do you think your primary way of decision making will occur? It's going to be extremely apprehensive. It's going to be extremely worrisome. There's going to be a lot of anxiety in that type of decision making. Now, what's the alternative? It's not just don't be anxious. What is the alternative? Well, you could be a cynic and live that way. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of opportunity in your life that you forego because you're essentially just not going to trust people enough to do any type of business with them, to learn from them, to work with them, to evolve with them. And what happens as a result? Well, you see and hear from less people. You become more withdrawn for the most part. Don't take anything literally. If you're not following this path so far, I would say, please think again about it. Because I'm not saying anything crazy here. I'm saying when you start questioning things to the point where you're saying everything must be corrupt, I'm saying that that's good. It's good that you have your guard up and you're thinking about this with a safety net. We all have families. We're worried about them. We're worried about ourselves. And the things that go on and occur out in society, we would like to think that we can control through our voting paradigm. Great. But I'm talking about decision making. The way you process your decisions, the way you internalize those ideas, and then actually execute, that's all done deep in the mind, I think, because we usually go with our gut instinct. Whatever feels correct, whatever feels right, we will usually go with. At least I do. I try to. If your gut instinct is that people are out to get you. You're essentially fear-mongering yourself. People are all naughty. They're all nasty. They're all here to pilfer and steal. That's not a good way to live life. I think it hurts you in a multitude of ways, and I feel like you would live a life that lacks so much substance because you're essentially afraid of your own shadow. Nothing's wrong here. For instance, if you were depressed for 6 years, were you wrong? No. Of course not. You were depressed. Everyone will go through everything at their own time. And I think it's important to say that and recognize it. Becoming a cynic, I became a cynic. I was the ultimate cynic. It's something I'm fighting against now. If my instinct says don't trust people, I have to tell myself again, no, trust people. If my instinct says don't do something that's essentially innocuous, of course I say, no, you have to go do it. Take the risk. Take the plunge. And I'm working to unravel this. Cynicism will lead you to a dark path. It's scary, and it could potentially kill you. It's not innocuous, in my opinion. All right, let's get to some other news. I mean, that was the monologue. Sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes it's 10 minutes. So, it is what the hell it is, okay? All right? That's what it is. What's going on over here? Trump's approval ratings fall as he nears 100 days in the office, polls show. 100 days in, these are the lowest approval ratings in how many years? Voters are losing confidence in Trump's ability to handle immigration. A trio of polls show that a majority of Americans disapprove of President Donald Trump's handling of the presidency. Trump's first 100 days seen as bringing big changes, but still too much focus on tariffs.
I mean, these numbers are just horrible. There's no way to sugarcoat it. And the first way we'll sort of point that out is we'll look at where Donald Trump is now versus where he was 100 days into his first presidency. And you see it here. You don't have to be a mathematical genius. 41% approval of him now. It was 44% back in 2017 around the 100-day mark. And what's so notable here is that throughout his second term as president, he tended to be running ahead of where he was in his first term. No longer is that the case. He has fallen below where he was at this point in his first term. Of course, this is just Trump. Let's compare him to other presidents. And I really think this kind of puts a bow on it. And you can see it here. You see the 41%. That is 12 points below Joe Biden. That's 3 points below where he was in his first term. Look at where Obama was, 63%. He's 22 points below that. And George W. Bush at this point in 2001, he is, again, 21 points below. And as you pointed out in your opening, Jessica Dean, I look back at all of the polling we possibly could long before I was born, and Trump's 41% at 100 days is the worst on record. He has broken his own record for being the worst. The American people do not like what they are seeing at this point.
And that's all perspective, right? It's all relative. Do you like Donald Trump? I mean, his likability is extremely important here. If you like the guy, then most of the stuff you'll look the other way. If you don't like the guy, then you're going to pounce on every single thing he says or does. Now, what was interesting here is that this is a Fox News poll. And Trump actually came out and said on Truth Social, Rupert Murdoch has told me for years that he is going to get rid of Fox News. sorry, that he's going to get rid of his Fox News Trump hating fake pollster, but he never has done so. So there's apparently a pollster at Fox News that Trump doesn't necessarily agree with when numbers come out. Of course, he's not going to agree with anything that he sees that's negative here. He goes on to say that Rupert Murdoch should also make changes at the China loving Wall Street Journal. It sucks. Let's take a look at the numbers. So these are the Fox News poll numbers. He's pretty much losing on everything. They completely disapprove of everything. Overall job performance, 44% approve, 55% disapprove. Border security, 55% approve, 40% disapprove. Of course, you have to take all of this with a grain of salt. You would think that immigration, it's split. Deportations, it's split. Guns, it's split. Foreign policy, 54% disapprove, 40% approve. These are the ones that really stand out. On taxes, which he's done nothing yet, 53% disapprove and 38% approve. On tariffs and inflation, 33% approve and 58 and 59% respectively disapprove. Now, what does this really mean? Well, it's 100 days. And essentially, this is a point of inspection, a point in time where we go back and we say, is this guy doing good at this point in time? It's a pulse check. How do you feel? I'm pissed. I mean, listen, I've actually like came down from it, but I'm pissed. I've said it multiple times here. I lost all of my money in the stock market. I'm 36 years old. I could have retired 5 years ago. But I was really aggressive. I tend to take on a lot of risk. I'll be okay. Life is going to be fine. God always, never left you. So I'm totally fine. It's just money. I'm going to live. You don't need a lot in this world. You need a little bit of food and you need shelter. That's it. So I'll be okay, but I'm not necessarily happy about the presidency. You can change around tariffs. You can try to bring in manufacturing into the United States. These ideas, I think, are interesting and novel, right? Because the way he's attacking it. But the way in which everything was rolled out and deployed was extremely haphazard. And it caused a lot of confusion and chaos. And that's not the way you want to run a company. When I see Democrats govern, it's thought about a lot more methodically. And I'm not going to just diametrically oppose Republicans and Democrats. It doesn't make any sense. Everybody always says the liberal stuff is blue and the more conservative stuff is red. It's not fair. What is a Republican? What is a Democrat? Seriously, what is? You pick any person off the street and you say, hey, do you agree with X, Y, and Z? And they may say, I agree with X, I agree with Y, I don't agree with Z. Well, your party said all three of those things. Most people are not going to agree on everything. If you're voting along party lines, okay, it's your prerogative. That doesn't make much sense to me. I believe that you should just pick the best candidate. The best at what, though, right? You might be interested in taxes. You might be interested in guns. Border security might be something high on your list. That's how you're going to vote. I mean, the average voter is how fickle. I like to say this. And, again, going back to being a cynic, you can't be a cynic there. I don't care if you have to believe it, unless it's glaringly obvious that elections are rigged. We better believe that they're not rigged. We better believe that we are voting in a system that matters, that counts, that is fair. If anything, we should be taking measures to bolster our election security. Because if we somehow as a people found out that our elections were somehow manipulated, and I use that word, it's probably not the best word, but If we somehow find out that our elections were completely rigged, that someone actually took the presidency that shouldn't be there, I think we would be in complete revolt. Now, it's difficult to protest, right? We have to think about that today, too. It's extremely difficult to protest. It's downright scary. Your face will be used on multiple cameras. They will use facial recognition software. If anything, you're giving them more ammunition. The government knows who you are anyway. Who you are, what your profile is, your likes, your tendencies. They know everything. I don't care where you think you live in this country, in the United States, in this country, Jack Nicholson in The Departed. In this country, in the United States, I mean, you do believe that we are a technology superpower, don't you? I do. I know that. We're leading in artificial intelligence. We are a technological powerhouse. We lead innovation. What we do is remarkable from the American vantage point. And I would like to keep those ideas and institutions intact. Do we have to protect this country? Yes, we do. And one of the ways that you do protect it is you abide by the Constitution. What are checks and balances exactly? They are there to make sure that the rules that we set, the laws that we enact, are followed. That's what checks and balances are for. A lot of people just like to throw out that term. I like to digest it a bit in my head. Like actively remind myself, what is that exactly? It's not just there to enforce. It's essentially a check, making sure that you're doing it right. You need that. And we do need a meritocracy. When you upend our system here and say that our elections are rigged, you're not only saying a lot, you are fundamentally challenging our entire system. When the Trump administration goes against a Supreme Court ruling and says, a man, I don't care who he is, what he did, where he's from, I don't give a damn about any of that. When our Supreme Court says Kilmar Abrego Garcia has to come back to the United States, you do that. You want to talk about low Fox News poll numbers? It's probably because of all of this. First of all, you hit people in the economy. You are not gonna be popular. Yeah, they say 90% of the wealth is owned by 10% of the people and blah, blah, blah. Only half of the United States population invests in the stock market, blah, blah, blah. The market is too important. It affects too many people. It affects too many families, one way or another. 401ks, mutual funds, active investing, just too much. You would have to unravel the entire system to really understand, to really look into it and show. But clearly, the U.S. population relies on the stock market. You just made it go down 15%. People are going to be pissed. So don't tell me that only a portion of our U.S. government. Don't tell me that only a portion is impacted with the stock market. Guns? Do guns affect everyone? Of course they do. whether you own one or not. You've got to think about security of your family, right? Inflation, again, what is this Fox News poll? It's 100 days in. It's just a benchmark. It's a popular one for all US presidents. And we're asking people, hey, what do you think about the president? 41% approve. Lowest in history. I believe it's warranted. I believe it's fair. I don't know how on earth he could get higher grades. Now he's got 4 years. He's still got a considerable amount of time, and he still has a charged base. I would think this would wane away after some time. Maybe it was extremely shocking in the first 100 days with all of the executive orders and really pushing on it. I think Congress and the Senate are going to catch up with the Trump administration. Because remember, the power of an executive order is you can move as fast as you want. You could rule by decree, which is just saying, hey, it's going to be like this. And by the time we actually fight it out in court and figure it all out judicially, you can do a lot of damage. You can make a lot of progress. It is the essential and primary technique that the Trump administration is employing. And that's why you have many calling for Trump to even step down. A lot of people would like him to not be president. When we're going against judges, when we're arresting judges, which is the next story that we're going to get into. Who is Hannah Dugan? So the TLDR, I don't really like that acronym, but too long, didn't read, is that Hannah Dugan was trying to give due process to an illegal immigrant. Now, this man was here illegally, but he was still about to see Judge Hannah Dugan, and ICE agents decided to show up at that time. They went over to try to arrest him, and Judge Hannah Dugan misled authorities, said that he was somewhere else, and started to bring him downstairs. They led them away, tried to get them out of the courthouse safely, him and his family. ICE agents ran down outside and they caught him on foot and arrested him. The FBI then went to the courthouse and arrested Judge Hannah Dugan. She's out. She got out on signing some paper slip because her fellow judges are not going to keep her in jail. What do you think about that? Now, this is a very nuanced case because technically she's wrong. Technically she's wrong. But we still have to ask the question, is ICE right? They're arresting a man before he is given due process by our Constitution. Now, you might say, but he doesn't deserve due process since he's not a US citizen. Ah, but he does. Why does he? Why does he deserve due process as a non US citizen? By the way, I don't even give a damn about borders. Couldn't care less. Okay? Life is too damn short. Somebody's in another place geographically in the world and you're upset about it. Relax. That's first and foremost. But let's debate this because this is what everyone is up in arms about. Republican versus Democrat. Republicans, what do they say? Again, not to categorize them that way. What are they saying? Get him out of the country. He shouldn't be here. ICE, arrest him and get him out. No illegal immigrants. You can be an immigrant. You just have to do it the right way. Democrats are saying what? No, he deserves to be here. They might get into the moral argument, and that's important. It's still significant. We still have to have that conversation. But more so, what are Democrats saying? What is anyone that's opposing this side saying? I'm not saying he deserves to be here. I'm not saying he deserves anything, his rights or anything. Nothing. I'm saying that our Constitution, our government, our laws, our courts where we decide everything, are saying officially, declaratively, he is supposed to get due process. Sorry, I had to fix my vest. No, I didn't. He's supposed to get due process. If you want to take part in the debate, right? If you're trying to rationalize this right now, as everyone should, if they care about the story, of course, does he deserve due process? I think he does. Why do I think he deserves due process? So it's easy to just throw out an expression, or it's easy to just say something to the effect of, I don't care, they're illegal. I don't want to waste a single dollar of taxpayer money processing any individual that shouldn't have been here to begin with. They paid their money, they risked their lives, and they came over to the United States. Did they contribute anything? Probably, possibly. Of course they did. Anybody living anywhere contributes, right? You're going to contribute directly and indirectly to the economy. How? By living here. Immigrants actually are not hurting us. And we actually did a video the other day on US birth rates declining, along with the global population birth rate declining. Knock, knock, allow immigrants in. They want to have kids. We need that. Personally, I have no kids. Am I contributing to society? Of course I am. As far as reproduction, well, do I take care of my nieces and my nephews and my, brothers and my sisters? Do I take care of people that take care of others? Do I take care of the children directly? If I'm doing that, then I think I'm okay. I don't think I necessarily need to have children. However, if we are trying to protect civilization, we should have kids. We should have more kids. This is an entirely different topic. But I do believe that a gun held to my head, is it your responsibility to have children? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Let's get back to the premise. What am I protecting here? Yes, he is an illegal immigrant, Eduardo Flores. You don't know him from a hole in the wall, but you're upset with the idea. And I'm not putting this on anybody. I'm just saying hypothetically, right? There are people that are upset with the idea of what? He is here illegally. He is doing something that I'm not doing, that I didn't do, that I didn't have to get away with, or I would never have done. Because most of us, are not immigrants, right? Um, well, I don't know what I necessarily mean by that, but I guess most of the, I don't know, audience, I'm not sure. The point is, there are more citizens than people that want to come, maybe. Actually, it's probably inaccurate. For the people that want to come, for the people that want to be here, they have to do it the right way. Most of us are, let's say for all citizens, they may not even think about immigration. Immigration probably doesn't hamper our lives. We have a lot of immigrants here in my neck of the woods, Queens, New York, by LaGuardia Airport, if you're familiar. And in our area, there's a huge immigrant presence. We're actually top 5 most diverse zip codes every single year in the world. That's how diverse Queens is. Every single one of my neighbors is a different ethnicity, and it's amazing. And we all coexist and we all respect one another. High level of tolerance here. New Yorkers are good people. That's why, I love this city. And I feel like you have to be as a New Yorker. Now, you may not actually have any trouble per se with immigration. But what a lot of people have trouble rationalizing or accepting is what? Well, I don't break the law in my life. Let's take it easy here. We're not without sin. First of all, we all sin. And I believe that all of us bend or break the rules. Bending is breaking, right? I believe all of us break the rules somehow. I don't wear my seatbelt. I might use my phone when I drive. Stuff that you might think to be innocuous. But for the most part, you might tell yourself, you might look in the mirror and say, I'm a good citizen. I'm not the best. I'm not, I don't know, maybe you think you're just a good person. That's okay. Let's not think about this like, oh, are you conceited? That doesn't even matter here. Most of us, I think, are good people. Most of us, I think, are good moral upstanding people. I don't believe that we're out to hurt anyone, and I believe that we all have good hearts. Man, I have this argument with people, a lot of people, and it's a very good argument, but I can prove to you that we're born with good hearts. I could talk about it all day, and I do believe that it's tied to God, but because some people want to karate chop, and I will karate chop you if I have to. And I don't know karate or Muay Thai or anything, but I will if I have to. Okay? Respectfully. Anyway, so I have a lot of friends and family that are good people. And most of us do. All of us do, actually. Because most people are good. That's not what we're debating here. But you might think to yourself, I don't really have a problem with immigration. I have a problem with you breaking the law. Now, however you get to the point, it is important because we just spoke about cynicism, right? That was our opening topic. And I love that topic because we cannot be cynics, guys. We won't go back. But we can't really be cynics. It's not a good way to live. It will drive you to depression, in my opinion. Anyway, there's a good group of people. And again, there's going to be an unlimited amount of reasons as to why people vote for somebody, as to why people believe something, are irritated by something. And it's not your responsibility to understand them all, but you have to understand that people like things for different things or different reasons, right? Whatever people's preferences are. Why does one person have a preference versus another having that same preference? Why do they have those preferences? Everybody has a different permutation. There are some people that are just going to be irate at the fact that people broke the law. It's not that I care about immigration per se. I care that this person broke the law. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And I actually agree if these are the Republicans or the people on this side, the conservatives, whatever you want to categorize them as, which again, I think is dangerous and I don't think we should really play that game, but let's just call them Republicans for now. If they're all saying, hey, I don't want to waste no money on shipping these guys back. I don't want them in the country. I don't want any elite. I don't want to worry about it. I don't want any of this. I don't like immigration. If we're going to do it the right way, let's do it the right way. I do agree that we should have laws on bringing people in. There are people that say, don't bring anybody in. You know that. Again, we have to consider all of these permutations. There are people that don't want any type of immigration. But I think the overwhelming majority of us like the idea for immigration, including Republicans. Because again, we're not having kids in this country. We're really not. We're declining. And it's a steep decline. Most people agree with immigration. How you go about it is where we disagree. But that's not what we're debating. We just went on a little roller coaster. What are we debating? And again, call them Democrats, call them whatever. Whoever is dissenting on this side, what I believe that they are really saying is, whoa, 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 whoa. What happened to checks and balances? What happened to making sure that the levers that we're pulling are being pulled correctly and they're being pulled for the right reasons? You signed some executive order all by your lonesome because you wanted to do so. And now people are being deported left and right. Actions are being taken. Lives are being affected, upended. Come on, guys. These people have to go to work tomorrow, right? It's Sunday today. People got to go to work tomorrow. People got jobs. People got lives. People have families. The last thing they want to do is get arrested and be deported. However, if they have to deal with such a type of situation, let them do so through the appropriate channels. What is due process? Why do we even have a term? Do you believe you deserve it? Oh, well, I'm a citizen. Of course you are. How did you become a citizen? Well, my parents immigrated here. Did they come here legally or illegally? They came here legally. Okay, cool. So everything sounds copacetic. Doesn't sound like anybody broke any rules. I'm going to choose to believe you. Great. Well, now we have this situation. Eduardo Flores, he's here illegally. Okay. And we just signed by decree that he has to get the fuck out of this country. That's the way it works. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Okay. That's cool. That's the policy. But wait. A judge or judges, Supreme Court, the court system, the judicial system is saying, wait. We have to do this. Man, that sucks. I'm an IT project manager. And by the way, all of us are project managers in our own right. I say that all the time. The last thing I want to see is right when we're about to implement our software or we're about to go live in production, we're about to, do something. Somebody comes up to me and says, wait, Shoy, you got to fill out this paperwork. What? I got to fill this out. Then I got to get it approved from this is going to take weeks. Yeah, but it's just the way it is. That's the governance behind it all. You know what I say in my job? Throughout my career, I'm like, hold on, guys. You're telling me you would rather pull something away from our users and say, hey, we're gonna introduce this new functionality and it's gonna come out on May 15th, and everyone's gonna love the new tools and the new features and enhancements, and we've been announcing it for 8 months. We went on a road show. We've sent out communications. We've taught users what to expect from the changes. And you're going to tell me on April 27th that we can't roll this out because you need me to fill out some paperwork that's going to take me weeks to get approved because of the iterations. You have to go back and forth. Is this correct? Is this correct? What? I tell people all the time, key decision makers, executives, are you crazy? I'm like, guys, are you crazy? I was like, I'm sorry. I'm gonna be the voice in the room. Now, doesn't mean that my voice goes. A lot of times it doesn't. Half the time it doesn't. But some people will agree with that. Whoa. This paperwork. I mean, now we have to look at the significance of the paperwork. But what was I just talking about? I was talking about a software project. What are we talking about here? And most importantly, what are we talking about from where? We're talking about someone's livelihood. We're talking about Eduardo Flores. He's an immigrant. Yeah, but he's still a human being. Yeah, but he's an immigrant and he was wrong and he shouldn't have came here and he doesn't deserve to be here and I don't want to waste my money on him and get him out. Okay. I'm agreeing with you. Okay. Fundamentally, I agree with your perspective and I like immigration. And again, I believe that we should be living in a world without borders, but that's besides the point. But I agree. That's Trump's agenda. That's the agenda of the administration. Go ahead. Carte blanche. Do your thing. That's your policy. We voted the way we did. We believe in our elections. That's the way it goes. What we're really saying, or what's really at stake here, is everything. Fundamentally, our Constitution, our freedom of speech, our freedoms, period, our civil liberties that make it possible for us to have this discourse, that's what's at stake. Why? You might think it's a simple ruling. You might think that this illegal immigrant, is as dispensable as anything else or anyone else. You might think that way. And I would agree with you. That's your prerogative. You can think the way that you do. Nothing wrong with that. It's your life. Good. I'm happy that you not feel that way, but I'm happy that you feel that you can express yourself. You should be able to have those thoughts. That's totally fine. You're not killing anyone. But we're not talking about some throwaway case. No, we are talking about countless at this point, countless deliberations where we are either bypassing or circumventing the law. I don't want the courts involved in anything. Courts sucked. I took my share of law classes. Courts suck. You settle all day outside of court. You never want to go to court. Never litigate. Never. Unless you absolutely have to. Some people absolutely have to. Never. Stay out of court. You will live a better life. You won't shed years off your life. You won't get gray hair. You won't hurt your skin and your nails and everything, and through with anxiety and stress, money. It won't wear on you for years. Stay out of court. But we still need court. I don't want to fill out a form when I'm about to push out new enhancements on a product. Nobody likes getting caught up in the bureaucratic red tape. Nobody likes the paperwork, but you need it because this man's life is about to be upended. And I don't care where you stand on the matter morally. You may not like this, but this is compliance with our laws. And if you think that it's okay for us to bypass it, I ask you why. Would it be okay in the instance that you got pulled over in your car and were not given due process? Because that's the exact same thing. Apples for apples. If you think it's okay to bypass the courts because your rationale is I don't want to waste money, which is fair. It's very fair. I don't want to waste my damn money on someone that shouldn't have been here anyway. Makes total sense to me. It's a fair argument. But we have the courts. And I don't know any other way to say it. It's like, come on, like I want to hear the debate here. It's not about me being right. I don't give a damn about my opinion. What is right here? What is morally correct? As far as being directionally correct. You can want him to be deported. Totally fine. If a judge is trying to give him due process, he deserves it. Why? Because our checks and balances must remain intact so that our civil liberties are not tampered with. This is a tort on your own freedoms. That's why I'm not happy with this. That's why when I look at these approval ratings, they make sense to me. What on earth are our leaders doing? You might not like the court. You might not like our judges. That is our system. And that's where the buck stops. Right there. You may hate it. That's where it stops. Hey, guess what? What about all the people that were wrongfully incarcerated and had to be exonerated? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? People that were in prison for 40 freaking years, their entire lives, tormented, hurt, gone, robbed completely. How on earth could I sum that up? Someone's life being stolen. Could you imagine that? 40 freaking years of telling people, 40 years of telling people, I am not in here legally. I'm a byproduct of a failure in our system. We already have that going on. We try to get the rules right. We try to get our laws right, but we already have that going on. We need to better the system, not do this, not circumvent it and bypass our Constitution. I'm sorry that you don't like it. Sorry, as even speaking to like a child. Sorry, kid. Me too. When they tell me something like that at work, or when the government says, "Hey, you need a new license." Oh man, I gotta buy a new license. I gotta do the paperwork. I gotta go to the DMV, whatever. Too bad. Tough luck. That's life. You learn that at like 10 years old, right? Your parents and your friends and your family, what do they tell you? Your caretakers? Tough luck. That's life. Tough cookies. For that, it can be tough cookies. For this, no. Nuh-uh. We need to go through the courts. This is what the side, whatever side you want to categorize this as, this is the problem that they have. You arresting a judge because she was protecting the Constitution. Now, this case is a very, technically, she did obstruct justice. Did ICE agents have the right to arrest this man? Our Constitution says no. Our Constitution says due process. But who really writes the law? Who writes the law? Is it our lawmakers? Or is it the people that hold the power? Yeah. Everything that you've seen here, which seems a bit chaotic, but that's not a slight against the Trump administration. I wish them well. I hope they do well. I hope we have a good economy. I hope people are treated fairly. But this chaos, I would say that they've been out of bounds. You can't break rules like this. First of all, you can't expect that we're stupid, because if you do enough of this, the people will revolt. And we already spoke about protesting. It's downright scary and dangerous for you to go put yourself out there. Who makes the decisions? Look at what the Trump administration did. They came in, they wrote a bunch of decrees like a king would, and said, it's going to be this way. What makes the United States different? You have checks and balances. You are not the United States if you rule by decree. Now, executive orders have exponentially risen in modern day US presidency. Obama signed a ton of them, Biden signed a ton of them. It's a way to quickly get things moving. And it's okay. It's almost an exploit of the system. I expect nothing less from Donald Trump and the administration. It makes a lot of sense. If I was the president, I probably would do something similar, where I would just try to get things done fast, because my idea in as far as productivity is concerned with my life, my work, my career, everything, progress over perfection. Just move in that direction. Even when I run and I exercise, I'd rather do something than nothing. Going live on this show, I would rather be live than not go live. I would rather broadcast than not broadcast. I think every time you say yes in your life, it essentially enriches it. It gives you a better chance. Don't say no, but that's besides the point. Who makes the law? The people with the military. Are we the United States of America, or aren't we? I don't ask this lightly. I might even get quieted on some platforms. They don't really like showing all of my content. And you can see the ones that they essentially thwart or throttle. Are we the United States or not? right now, the way we are working, we are not. It's easy to say, you know what, things are not that bad just yet. The stock market isn't all the way down yet. And, we're still treading water. No, we're not. We're not. And again, this comes from a place of, I believe, a fair and good heart. I try. I try my best. I try. I'm not the perfect person. I'm not a good person, I would say. I just try to be, as good as possible, especially when it comes to this. My perspective on the matter, I don't want human beings to get hurt. I want to preserve life and care for each other as much as we can. But I understand that we have to run a US government. That's the way things stand. And as far as I can see them, when I look at a situation like this, a human being's life is hanging in the balance. You might think that that's negligible because it's only one person's life, but that's not what's at stake here. And if I have to answer, is the US government running as it should? Unequivocally, I would say no, it is not. You are blatantly disregarding the US judicial system. You tell me if this is the United States of America. Again, I want the Trump administration to do great. I want Donald Trump to do great. I want him to be okay. I wish nothing bad on the man or the administration. We cry foul when we feel something is wrong. We know. It's almost like a spidey sense. And what is our responsibility? Well, I think we have to have the discourse. We have to discuss this, no matter how uncomfortable it may be, no matter how worrisome or taboo the topics might be. You still have to have the conversations. It's decisions like these that would inhibit us from having those conversations. Because when you take away civil liberties like this, we are not the republic. We are not the country that we stand to know, that we have come to know. That's how dangerous this is. So I don't want people to take this lightly. I'm not saying go out in the street and protest or anything like that. What I'm saying is we have to continue to have this conversation and call out the things that are anti-American. This is anti-constitutional. You might love the Trump administration. That's okay. That's great. Me too. I love them too. I want them to do well. This is not the United States of America. And I don't say that like anti-American. I would never do something like burn a flag or step on a flag or anything like that. Absolutely not. I absolutely love this country. I wish I would have served in the military. I love this country so much. And I'm not even like super patriotic. I just, I think about our soldiers and I say that a lot of people died so that I could do whatever I wanted to in my life. And I'm always going to recognize that. Full stop. But if they are going to be as bold as this to take away from people's freedoms and not prevent them from having due process. That's not what this is about. This is about disagreeing with the courts, but not going through the right channels. Again, you may not like it, but if they're willing to circumvent the rules like this, what freedoms do I actually have? So I'm putting up some comments. Fuck Trump. He deserves prison, not the presidency. Immigrants built this country. Um, Yeah. Yeah, KD. Yeah, I am getting this live. Happy Easter, pray for peace. Who makes the law? Who enforces fake law? The cops. Yeah, progress over perfection. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff over here. Um, yeah, let's get on to the next topic. A lot of stories today. So brace yourselves because we're about to start talking about well, I mean, here it is. Experts on Russia say Donald Trump is wrong about the war in Ukraine. The political stance that we've taken overwhelmingly in this country has been what? It's been that Putin and Russia are terrorists. They're wrong. They are bullies. And we should not abide by them. They are enemies, not allies. I was speaking to a friend earlier today, and we were thinking about why why are we adversaries? Now, first, we are going to jump into the whole Russia Ukraine issue, and I'll come out right up front and say that I clearly recognize who the antagonist and protagonist are. One country is attacking another. There are many arguments there. This was previously the USSR. The Soviet Union, therefore, remains as one, and you don't recognize Ukraine's sovereignty. Therefore, Russia attacking Ukraine is essentially an attack on their own people. It's essentially a civil war. That argument is out there, and that's legitimate. It's legitimate. Do I agree with it? No. But again, that's your prerogative on the matter. I personally think that we should be doing everything that we possibly can to protect Ukraine. I'm actually happy that the European Union has been meeting with Ukraine, and they have come to staunch defense of that nation, looking to get them into NATO now, looking to also get them into the European Union as a member state. If you aren't privy to this photo, this is President Donald Trump and President Volodymyr Zelensky from Ukraine at the Vatican, the Pope's funeral, and having a very short, what's summarized as a 5-minute discussion about the stake of the war and peace between Russia and Ukraine. Now, if you're also not familiar with this, President Volodymyr Zelensky puts out a post on X daily, multiple posts, since the peace plan was introduced back in February, there has been a all-out assault on Ukraine every single day from Russia. The proposed ceasefire that Russia tentatively agreed to went out the window. They have been attacking, killing, destroying buildings, creating havoc all over Ukraine, not just in one city. They still maintain control of essentially the eastern front of Ukraine. And this is what control looks like today. Luhansk, Donetsk. Of course, Crimea was taken in the Black Sea in 2014. Who is the aggressor? Who attacked who? Who denied that we were actually going to war with this other country? Who pushed out a barrage of propaganda saying that this was a special military operation? It was Russia. Ukraine has their sovereignty. And what I see here is one country trying to invade another. Now, again, your argument may very well be that the USSR deserves to be one union and the United States should have nothing to say about it. You also may argue that Ukraine is a pawn in this entire operation, and the US's secret or hidden agenda is to actually take on Russia one day, which gets me to my premise. Why is it that Russia is our adversary? Isn't that the narrative that you are choosing to accept? It's what the media pushes. And it's what you ultimately choose to accept on the matter. Because you do say, okay, well, this is why Russia is attacking Ukraine. They're doing it for X. And this is why the United States is coming to their defense. They are doing it for X. One of the comments here, money for war, no money for the poor. These governments are evil. Again, we spoke about cynicism earlier in the show, and I wouldn't advise for it. Russia backs Iran. I have this up on the screen. Why is it that I call Russia our adversary? It's because everyone is telling me to, no? But let's get really simple here. I have to ask myself a couple of key questions. Do I hate Russia? No. I'm answering right now. Ask yourself. You have to run the experiment with most of the things that occur in life, right? You have to ask yourself, do you hate Russia? Probably not. Do I hate Russians? Me? Why? Why would I hate Russians? Do I hate the Chinese? No. Do I hate Chinese people? No. Do I hate China as an entity, as an institution, as a country? No. Well, then why are they our enemies? Oh, it's because they have nuclear power and they have a rivaling military in size and they're competing with us on innovation and technology. And oh, by the way, we just need an adversary. And I'm not being facetious here. I mean, I am, but is that what it is? I'm really asking. Do we need an adversary just to have one? Do we need an enemy because that's the way comic books are written? You tell me. I don't need an adversary. Last time I checked, I don't want enemies. Why are you telling me that I have an enemy? You're telling me that I have an enemy? You're creating an enemy for me. I don't hate Russia. I don't hate Russians. I don't hate Ukrainians. I don't hate the Chinese. I don't hate Cubans. I don't hate Iran. Do you hate Iran? We're cutting straight to the core here because the theory that you'll hear, the narratives, the headlines that you'll read are that Iran cannot have any nuclear weapons. Iran is our adversary. They are the enemy. They chant death to America. I don't chant that. I don't chant death to Iran. The way I look at it, from my perspective, of course, is that, hey, you know what? The US does a lot of shit. We have our tentacles across all the world. And yeah, some people are going to be really mad at us. And last time I checked, we killed a lot of people. And we're still killing a lot of people. And we're the strongest and the biggest and the baddest. And I could see why some people don't like us. I'm not going to hate them. I think they're mistaken. Anybody chanting death to America is mistaken. And last time I checked, I make a lot of mistakes. So am I just going to hate people that make mistakes? Because then I'll hate myself. You see where we're going here? Maybe not. I don't want enemies in my life. I always try to steer clear of having enemies. Some people just don't like you. We all know that. Some people will just do some devious shit and they'll pounce on you any chance they can get. That's just the way life goes. Another comment, the governments want the people divided. Sure. These aren't mistakes. The government leaders distract the people. Sure. The government wants you to hate others, divide and conquer. Sure. But again, I'm choosing not to be a cynic. I know that there's a lot of scary, dangerous, and mischievous people out there. And I've done my fair share of it. But I know that there are people that are really bad. And people are just going to hate you for no reason. Doesn't mean that I have to hate them. As a matter of fact, if I've learned anything from biblical teachings and my church and everything that I've ever done as far as my relationship with God, it's that we have to have compassion above all else, is it not? So tell me then, why is it that I should hate Russia? Why is it that I should hate China? Come on now. This life is too short. You think I'm going to hate an entire class of people? For what? Even Iran. The people that are chanting death to America that they show you on videos, is that not propaganda? Of course it is. It may have really happened, but it's propaganda. Do you think all people in Iran hate Americans? I doubt it. I doubt the majority of any group of people just hate another people just because. And you might call me naive, but I'm just telling you that I'd rather not be a cynic because it doesn't serve me well. It makes me look at the world as being dystopian in nature. And that will hamper my thinking. I'll start thinking, hey, this whole world sucks anyway, and there's nothing really to live for. And I'll drive myself to the brink. So I'd rather choose not to. But I'll be damned if I'm going to allow you to create an adversary for me. Could you imagine somebody walking up to you and saying, hey, your neighbor hates you? You might think, whoa, do they? How do you know? Your neighbor hates you. I've known my neighbor for 10 years. Really? I talk to my neighbor all the time. My neighbor's extremely amicable. No, your neighbor hates you and they're out to get you. You know why? Because you share a driveway with your neighbor and they actually really want the driveway. And they hate how you put out your garbage. They hate the music that you play. They actually really hate you. Really? They do. They are your enemy. They are my enemy? Yes, they are your enemy. Huh. Okay. Now you start rationalizing it that way. My neighbor is my enemy. How far do you think you're going to get with that? Even if it was true, what I would say is rationalize it, internalize it, and keep it moving. Because if you sit there and let it sulk and you sit there and you let it stew, I think overall you'll live an unhappy life. Even if someone is treating me adversarially, I still have the choice to call them my enemy or not. And now I really have to ask you, what the hell is it that the government and the media are doing? This isn't some matrix abstract shit. What are they doing? They're calling Russia, China, Cuba, North Korea, Iran, they are calling them our enemy. But I still have a choice on how to internalize that. Do I have to accept it? I certainly should accept the fact that my government is saying it and know the way that things work. Call it propaganda, call it them trying to control the narrative. They certainly are. There's nothing wrong in saying that. That's not some conspiratorial angle here. They want me to think that Russia is our adversary. And I have a ton of stuff to say about it. Number one, if I do accept it that way, what is that serving me? Would I rather have one extra enemy? How does my focus, my vision, my energy, my philosophy on believing that they are the enemy, how does that actually affect the world order? Like if I vote for something a certain way, we'll either help fund Ukraine or fund and get better relations with Russia, whatever it is, right? The way we vote, the way we talk, our discourse matters here. If I choose to accept all of these opponents as enemies or as adversaries, that will help push their narrative. Will it not? But where do I stand? On a human level, it's preposterous to me. You're telling me to have an adversary. You're telling me to have an enemy. Why? I don't hate these people. I don't know them from a hole in the wall. We say China this, we have to say China that. Let me remind you, let me remind us, China has 1.4 billion people. How dare you? For what we know on this earth, for how long we're going to be here, we don't even know why we exist. You're condemning and classifying an entire people, saying China this, China that. 1.4 billion people. How audacious of you. Does that sound right to you? To say an entire group of people does this or does that, and I don't care, caution to the wind, screw them. That sounds right to you? Probably not. And I would enforce that by saying that I believe that most of us have good hearts. I believe that most of us want to do right. We want there to be peace. This is a good thing. Trump and Zelensky talking. War is not good. Enemies are not good. Why would the US government peddle such an idea? To say that these are the people that we need to watch out for, these are the people that we need to compete against. You think that's healthy for us? I don't know. Well, let's run with the idea. Is it good or bad for you to have one extra enemy? Of course it's not. You don't want enemies. You'd rather have everyone be an ally or be neutral. It's the best way to go through life. Why on earth would the government classify billions of people in saying these are threats to your very nature, to your social construct? Wow. That's what's really being said here. When you think about communism and how we're trying to fight this, when you think about communism, sorry, my TikTok live just went out, and how we're trying to fight this, this is insane. You're telling me that I have an enemy that I have to deal with, that I have to account for. And that it's pertinent that I deal with this situation. How can it not be? The US government speaks about China, about North Korea, about Cuba, about Russia every day. This is as much a part of our zeitgeist as anything else. You're telling me that I have to be concerned. You're telling me that I have to worry about this. That's why I have a problem with it. Sure, I can go about my day. I'll be all right. I don't necessarily need to be concerned with this, right? I could just accept it and keep it moving, right? Russia is our enemy, China is our enemy, Cuba is our enemy, and that's just the way it goes. Yeah, that's one way to internalize it. You still got to get up and go to work every day. You still got to get up and do what you got to do, right? You got to live. I mean, most of us, we see a murder or we hear a tragedy on television, and what do? We go and we get dinner. Is that your fault? Absolutely not. You're living your life. You're doing everything you should be doing. That's not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong there. You're certainly not insensitive. But you're telling me, wait. Be concerned with this. Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia this, Russia that. Russia is wrong. They are our enemy. Again, it's not about whether they're right or wrong on the Ukraine front. In my opinion, they're dead wrong. Forget about the cynicism and the skepticism here as far as why Russia is doing it, as far as how the United States is responding. Forget about all of that. Russia Ukraine is one topic. We're talking about the state of being adversarial. Why does the US government want me to hate all of these nations? Russia, China, Libya, Iran. Well, if you're a cynic, you might say, well, the US government probably is out to get something. Many people believe that we only went to war in the Middle East because it was over oil, which traces back to what? Money. Why are we adversarial with Russia and China? I don't know. But again, if I simplify things and I ask myself, do I hate Russians? I don't. Do I hate the Chinese? I don't. So now I'm kind of at a dual path, a fork in the road. Do I accept the narrative that the US government and media is pushing, which I believe is lies? Because you're not going to tell me that I have an adversary that I have never met. And you're not going to tell me that all of the people in Russia are wrong, and all of the people in China are wrong, and all of the people in North Korea are wrong. You're not going to tell me that. As a matter of fact, I've had the fortune of being able to travel a little bit in this world. And when I go to places, people are usually good and kind-hearted and the same. They're usually just like us. When you go to another city, the only thing that you changed was the geography. You stand there in the street and you look at people walking up and down, and they all have the same thing that you're going through. They're going to the bakery, they're going to the convenience store, the supermarket, the gym. They're doing all the things that you do. We're the same. We're just in a different part of the earth. We speak a different language, but everything else really remains the same. Trust yourself. We all have problems. Am I supposed to sit here and classify an entire group of people as remote as anything else and just say, yeah, that idea of these people, that idea of Russia, this huge landmass that I've never been to, that has 250 million people, I'm just going to hate all of them? That's what you're choosing to do? That's what the media is pushing? Because the media pushes it, but you have to accept it. Now, there's understanding that there's probably nothing that you can do about it in the interim, but you can. Because you can make a deliberation on what your stance on the matter is. Is Russia the antagonist? Is Russia the aggressor? In my estimation, from everything that I know between Russia and Ukraine, absolutely. Do I hate Russia? No. As far as China being an adversary, do I hate them? Do I want them to be our enemy? No. Last time I checked, all they do is make good food, and they're happy people, and they're extremely intelligent and extremely disciplined, and they are extremely business savvy. They lead the way in a lot of different aspects of life. Why the hell would I hate Chinese people? Why the hell would I hate Russians? Now, these ideas are disparate. This is just one of the many things that the government tells us how things should be. As far as who we view on the world map and our relations with them, this is the narrative. These are the people that you should hate, and these are the people that we're friendly with. And if you don't believe me, go to the US's tourism site and you'll quickly see who we label as being a dangerous place to go to and who we label as being a safe place to go to. But I have to ask myself, as a human being on this earth, as far as where my energy and attention will be driven to, what am I going to accept as far as the narrative? Am I going to say that these people are good because most people are and they mean well? And maybe Russia as a government is doing something deplorable as this, but they are mistaken as others have been historically? Or am I just going to say, yes, they are the enemy and we'll deal with them as such? And the way that I want things to be in this world, the way I want the international order of things to be, is that yes, Russia, China, North Korea, Vietnam, Iran, Cuba, they are our adversaries. Those are the red blips on the world map. And that's the way that Americans should unify and believe. I do not accept that narrative. And it's not because I'm a rebel. It's because I'm being instinctive. I don't give a damn about having an enemy. At all costs, I would rather not have one. And I don't care if it's a actual person, which is the most significant thing, or this ideology that these nations that again are as remote as anything else. We just talk about them like they're pieces of a map on paper. There are human beings that we are talking about. When we say China, 1.4 billion, we can't even count that high. And just to have a throwaway term, we say, yeah, the Chinese are the worst. They're always stealing from us, all of us. They're all thieves. I would choose to go against. That doesn't sound right to me. So I'm going to defy that order of things. I'm not going to accept it. It doesn't sound right to me. Why? It's easy. I just got to listen to my heart. Does my heart say breed evil? Does my heart say hate people? No, it never has. But I still have to protect it. I can't let that creep in. So when I hear this narrative that these are the nations that we should watch out for, that these are the nations that are actively causing us harm, I have to ask those questions. Are they? Are they? Are they attacking us? Are these people bad? Should I categorize them and classify them and say death to China and death to Russia and death to all these countries and I don't like them? No. You would be as wrong as the Iranians, those few Iranians. I don't think the majority of Iran hates Americans. Absolutely not. We have to remember these things. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and support. And yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.